And good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you all. It is your girl, Ruthie the Truth. I am your financial wellness coach and your number one strategist for goal-driven planning. And today, guys, we have a very special guest on. I will let him introduce himself because I'm so excited. We are going to jump right into this, but I just wanted to say really quick, make sure before you do anything else, you hit the subscribe button. And not only that, you follow us because I want to make sure that you get every single part of this episode and series that we are going to be diving into. All right. So without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Steve himself.
Howdy. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be watching this right now.
Yes. How are you, Steve?
I'm excited to be on. We've had some great conversations leading up to this, and I think this is going to be a fun time for everybody involved, including you. You haven't heard the story yet, so it's going to be I think you'll be enlightened and encouraged by it.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
excited. Yes. So just really quick to give people a recap. So Steve, Stewart, and I, we met during FinCon in New Orleans, and it was such a great time because I was sitting in a podcasting session when I just randomly bumped into his wife, and then bumped into him and found out that he does video editing, podcast editing, to be more specific,
Yeah.
and this is going to be a very interesting session because I found out that Steve is a dad and he has a grad, and we both shared a common, this is debatable, right? So the commonality is the fact that we are transitioning. Our major life transition right now is living life without having our children fully dependent on us right now, because they're always going to be dependent to some level. But yes, our children have flown the coop to some degree. Mine are living with their dad, but Stewart, his daughter, is off to college, and all of our children are in Texas right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and actually my daughter has graduated and she's off on her own now. And her complete income is self-employment income, which is very, very scary and cool.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that part.
You don't
Okay.
know any of this story yet. I'm going to tell you all.
Yes. So I'm going to keep quiet, and we are all going to point our attention to Mr. Steve Stewart himself. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. I'd like to talk real quickly about how we train our kids about money, because I've been involved in personal finance coaching myself since 2007, but we never officially, formally sat our daughter down and took her through a financial course or sent her to Financial Peace University. She did get some personal finance training in school, but I'll tell you what, in high school, some of the stuff they were teaching is not what I would teach. Most of it was good, but it is lacking. And if we parents don't example financial behaviors, how will they learn? They'll learn it from their friends, learn it from media, TikTok, which is just a random place for learning right there. So my daughter is now 23. She's on her own, but let me go back to when she was 21. She was still in her senior year of college.
Okay.
She had my wife's old car, because my wife had bought a Jeep, and we handed it down, the Nissan Pathfinder, to her. Car was in excellent condition, and so it was a great vehicle, and she didn't have to pay for it, which is a privilege. She got a free car. Who can complain about that? And she had been doing her self-employment stuff, which she still does, of drawing digital art and selling it in these really niche communities online. It's not something somebody can brag about at a party saying, oh, I make $100,000 a year. It's not like that. But she was in high school and she was in college and living with us. So that's all she needed. But she knew that saving was important. She knew that by us leading by example, always talking about, oh, we're going to put money away for this. Oh, we're going to put money away. We're going to be ready for that moment when car breaks down or whatever. We never sat down and talked to her specifically about those things in depth. We just had conversations randomly whenever they came up. Mm-hmm. Well, when she was 21, this is February of 2022, 2. She
Okay.
was online and she saw this car that she thought she'd be interested in at a dealership. I'm like, okay. She shows me a picture of it. She says, Dad, I think I might want to buy this car. She shows me the price. I'm like, that's more than the down payment we put on this house. But that's how much cars were for, right? I'm like, all right, let's look at it a little bit deeper. And she's like, Dad, will you go test drive it with me? I'm like, okay, good. I've got an out here. Here's a 21-year-old girl looking to buy, are you ready for this?
I'm listening.
A ruby red 2011 Chevy Camaro. And I'm like, 21-year-old girl's not going to buy a sports car like this. Come on. So I'm like, yes, I'll test drive it with you because I want to find something wrong with this car. We go. I have her kick the tires, quote unquote, kick the tires. We're driving around. I'm having her speed up, slow down, getting off the route, going in the parking lot, backing it up, looking at everything. I'm like, check this, do that. We're testing everything. And we could only find one thing wrong with this car. Only one thing. It wasn't the fact that the car had mechanical issues. It wasn't that it was dented up and rusting out. It wasn't even the fact, and this is the money part of it, she had the cash to pay for it. She wasn't going to get a loan. She had the cash saved up and then some to be able to buy this car with cash. The only problem with this car is it's the car that I wanted. So I couldn't tell her no. I could not tell her no. She had the cash, and I was so proud of that moment. I was like, this is a learning experience that she has to have, because let's talk about a smaller dollar amount item. When we take kids to the dollar store, we know that the thing they buy is probably going to break in a day or two. If they spend their own money on the thing, they're going to learn a lesson from it. Okay, this is my daughter's big grown-up lesson of buying a car. If it breaks, she learns a lesson from it. If it doesn't, she's already learned a lesson from it. She paid cash for the car. So we went to the bank. There's a longer story here I'm not going to go into, as far as we had to go through some hoops to pay cash for this car. It was ridiculous.
What?
Yeah. You want to hear the perfect storm story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That's what this
So this is
podcast.
February. We go in on a Wednesday. We look at the car. We tested. I can only find the one thing wrong with it, which is something that I wanted. And we agreed to buy the car. We go and we talk to the guy. We're like, okay, we're going to go to the bank, get a cashier's check. We go to the bank. Bank says, we had an update to our system this morning. We can't process, or we can't generate cashier checks. We're like, okay, we'll go to the other bank up the street. Well, it's a system-wide update. All of our banks in the tri-state region had the same update, so we couldn't get a cashier's check. We're like, okay, could we get this in cash? We're talking about 5 digits of cash. And like, I don't think so. And so we're like, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll come back tomorrow. Okay, well, tomorrow, this is where the perfect storm comes in. Tomorrow, or tonight, actually, we're expecting this big blizzard. And we got it. Banks were closed for 3 days. So even though we tried to go back when they got their systems up and running, the banks were closed. We couldn't even get the cashier's check then. Of course, we go back and we're trying to tell the dealership, hey, just hold, here's $500, hold it for us. And of course they did. But it was a bunch of hoops for my daughter to go through and do the right thing. Pay cash for your car. So she did. She eventually did get the cash out of the cashier's check out of the bank. We went in. She got the title and everything. All done.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a fun story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy though. Like, what was her? I'm curious to learn. Like, what were her reactions during that process? Because I could only imagine having to go back and forth, and not only that, but like you're talking about, we're not talking about a snowstorm. You literally said a blizzard.
It was pretty much, yeah. It shut down everything.
Extensive. So, like, even going back to the bank after a whole blizzard has now covered the whole tri-state area pretty much.
Yeah.
What were her reaction? Like, did she have any reaction? Do you remember?
She was initially nervous that somebody else was going to buy the car out from under her. That's why we wanted to get a deposit in her hands, right. Which she couldn't do. Well, she could do that. She could easily get him $500 or whatever it was. And nobody's really looking at this car but she didn't want to take that risk. She
No,
already,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
she fell in love with this car and she wanted the car. And we got him down a little bit on the price, but not much because she wanted the car. But she was a little worried about that mostly, and then just frustrated because it's like, let's do this, but the banks were closed. We couldn't get the money out. You couldn't just Zelle them, 5 digits to, to do that. So it was just, she had to be a little more patient, which is
Right.
another good lesson in its own. But really, the big lesson here is we didn't sit down and say, you never, take out a loan for a car. You never lease a car. We never did that. We talked about the benefits of paying cash, of staying out of debt, saving up for things. And she did it. She did it without us having to check in on her all the time.
Nice. And at such a young age too. Like that's amazing
Yeah.
because I remember being that age, like in my early 20s. Oh my gosh. My life was a wreck. And I was having to navigate like similar scenarios. I wasn't able to buy a car cash because I had 2 children during that time frame, but just it's like such an accomplishment when you are able to make such a big purchase like that on your own and just kind of like feel liberated with the fact that like she still knows that she has, obviously she has you, she has mom, she has the backing, but there's something different that comes out when you know that you've done it, you're signing these papers with your name on it and it's yours, and nobody can take it from you because you worked hard to get to that point, you very hard, and she did it. Like, congrats and
Yeah.
kudos to you
Well, thank you.
for giving her those um planting those seeds of financial foundation. Like, this is one of the key elements that I focus on when I do podcasting episodes, is just highlighting how important it is, especially from a father's perspective, whether it's a son or a daughter. But I'm always partial to girl dads because my dad was a girl dad.
Hmm.
He was both, but my sister and I outnumbered my brother. So, we kind of took over he took over the girl dad role. And there's just something so, like, I don't want to say I'm corny when I say magical, but like there's just a different element that comes from that connection between a father and a daughter. And especially, one thing my daughter was telling me, even when now that she's done with her dad, is how important it is for her dad to hear from her father, because she could hear from me all day, but to hear from her father the words, "I'm proud of you."
I
You
actually
know,
texted that to her the other day, just out of the blue. I was like, you know what? Doo-doo-doo. I'm proud of you. That's the words that came out of my fingers. That's really interesting that you said that.
yes, and I wouldn't have known that, because I feel it. Sometimes we know things subconsciously, but it's not until we get the confirmation, and especially from my child, which is like, okay, this is like a little mini version of me, and she is so self-aware to know that, like, this is what she expects from her dad. Like, she doesn't always communicate this. I didn't really communicate it to my dad when he was alive, but it's little things like that. And then to know that, I know she knew that when she was signing the papers and going through the process and you were there every step of the way, that it just enhances that relationship and that connection, because now it's like, when you hear it from dad, there's nobody could tell you anything. Like, the world could be falling apart, but dad said that he's proud, and dad said you can do it, so like that's it, it's final. It's like the words are written. So that's amazing. Oh,
Yep. And
congrats.
she's going to have that lesson with her entire. She is more proud of this car now because she doesn't have to make a car payment every month. She did it. She earned it, and she's living the dream of having the car that she wanted, and she paid cash. Oh, and I didn't even tell you. So a few months later,
Yeah.
she paid cash and she got it wrapped pink. Yeah.
Oh,
Before Barbie movie. This is
I
pink.
was, I was just about to ask you.
Nope. But it kind of looks like that now. It's a Chevy
Really?
Camaro in it's all pink.
That
Yep.
is so interesting. Oh, I would love to see pictures of how that. I can't even imagine a pink Camaro. Oh well, it would be kind of like the Barbie, right? Like almost like a Barbie
It would
car.
look like it looks like a Barbie car if it had a
Right?
convertible top.
Wow, that's so wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is pink her favorite color? Or did she just like
It
what's the
it wasn't until she like turned 16. She hated it until then. I don't know what happened. She just all of a sudden turned girl.
real that sounds just like my daughter. Her favorite color is black and white.
Yeah, that's what it was before 16. And then she started doing this pink stuff, and then it just became that was her
Pink.
thing. Pink, 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 pink.
Wow, interesting.
Hmm.
So interesting. So now, um, when it comes to as a father, what were some of your thoughts going through that process? Like, did you feel, because sometimes as parents we always just want things to go right, like we really don't want to see our children go through any like rough patches, and we want to be there to kind of like pick them up along the way, and just always, I don't know, have things I don't know, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm like the perfectionist of a mom. But like, what were some of your thoughts or feelings during that process? And if there may be any listeners or viewers that are tapping into this episode right now, what would be some practical advice, words of advice, or steps? I know it's just a bunch of questions, but I guess in that order.
Well, I'm going to go with the last thing you said is what kind of words of advice, because I think it kind of encapsulates everything here that we've been talking about with my daughter's experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Lead by example. If your financial situation or your health situation or your career situation, anything there is not the way that you want it to be, focus some time on it. I know people are struggling with certain things in their life, and you've got to put more time and energy into fixing that thing
Mm.
and steal that time away from things that don't matter. For me, it's, scrolling Facebook and Instagram. I could easily give that up and
Mm.
focus more on whatever it is. And I've been doing that. Maybe about 15 years ago, I decided that's it. I'm done watching the news. Life has been so great since giving up watching the news, and in turn, also giving up a lot of television. So
Mm.
life has been getting incrementally better because I've been stealing time away from things that didn't matter and putting them more into things that did. And then when it comes time to goof around and enjoy things, it's a lot easier to, because I've done all the work. It's time to take a break. You've earned it.
Mm.
So with kids, lead by example. With your finances, in this example, and we maybe have talked a couple times about paying cash for a car versus loans, but we never actually sat through and did the numbers and spreadsheets and facts and figures and
Right.
all that. But it was just conversations, and we led by example.
Okay. That, and yes, that's interesting because I think a lot of times as parents, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and not enough trust in our children to make the decisions of what they are confident in, because it's like, no, we have more experience in life, and we just kind of feel like they don't always know the
And they
steps
don't.
after, but in a way, like you were saying, they kind of do. They have an idea of it, because if they've watched you,
Mm-hmm.
then that is essentially their life experience. And not only that, but like the best part about it is that they're seeing it from like a sponge lens, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
where we're doing things and we may be frantic at times, and like you said, like doing the figures and the spreadsheets and this, that, whatever, like they're literally soaking it all up as if it's a YouTube video, like a real life video. And their perspective on it is like almost like a 2.0 version, because now look, like your daughter's got her car wrapped. Like, I can't even imagine. I don't think even now I would really I would be confident enough to be like, you know what? Let me just drop a couple of get my car wrapped. Like, I just it's different, but it's like enhanced version of
Mhm.
the setting an example. It's like her own stamp on what she wants to do or however she wants to do it. So that's always so interesting. I admire that, and that's one of the main things I love about dads being there and like being present is just the fact that it's such a confidence booster for the child. And not to discredit moms, because I know, I'm a mom, but I can honestly say that there's only but so much confidence that my children are going to get from me. Like, it's like their confidence, it's like a different, I can't even describe it. It's like dads have like the swag, try to kind of like, it's like they put the extra swag on it, and then their children just, I don't know, it's different. It's just, it's completely different. I know some women, they would hate for me to admit it, but I'm Ruthie the truth, so I tell the truth about like how it is, and not all that. A lot of times when I speak to fathers, they sometimes they feel insecure and they don't feel as confident in themselves about the decisions that they make in life, or what they could have done better for the child or children, depending on how many children they have. And one thing I try to do, like with the empowerment of fathers, is to let them know that, hey, literally your presence, like showing up, it has such an impact. Like, you don't even have to say words, but when you say words, oh my God, like it's even more so. Like, but just showing up, I try to let them know, like, just it's fine. No matter what the transitions are in life, no matter what you think you may not have done for your children, the minute you literally show up, give them a hug, like show them that you are there. And then they just get this like cover of confidence,
Mhm.
and it leads to such amazing things,
Yep.
obviously.
There's a lot of times I just wouldn't say anything because she needs to learn on her own. And
Right.
because she was living with us or she was young and stuff, it makes it easier for them to make these mistakes because they're going to land in a safe place if they mess up. So
Right.
she's on her own now. If she messes up, she can come back home. We're okay with that. Not everybody has that luxury. Of course, we'll be moving eventually out of this house. We're moving probably next year. So things will be crazy. Does she still want to move back with us then? We don't know. But she's taking those little steps on her own into adulthood. And one of those big things was buying her first car with cash.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so amazing. I can't
Yeah.
wait.
It's fun. I'll have
But
to send you a picture of the car.
yes, for sure. I want to see if I can drop an edit and show the picture of the episode, because it's just, it's amazing, and wow, that it's like I'm sure you're like uber proud of her, because
Yeah. What's
that's
funny is I started out going to look at this car thinking she can't buy this car. Then when we looked at it and realized there's only the one problem and she needed to buy the car, then I was upset that she couldn't buy the car because the banks were closed. And
right.
then I was all excited because she had this moment. And then I was upset because she was going to spend money to wrap this 2000. It was a 12-year-old car, or no, it was a 10-year-old car at the time. So, you know, it what I decide is not, it's not up to me what she does, but at least she has a safe place to land in case she makes a big mistake. And she didn't. This time was big life moment, big life moment. She gets to keep with her forever.
Right. So I have one major question to ask you now.
Okay.
Will you be driving her pink wrapped car?
She will not let me do, I couldn't back it out of the garage to get the ladder out to
She
do some
doesn't let
things. I had to text her, knock on her door in a bedroom, whatever, to get her to move her car, and she's asleep. I'm like, well, I'm screwed. I gotta just wait until she's awake.
What?
Ridiculous.
Wait, she had you blocked in the driveway?
Well, she this is even worse. So her car was older, but she got to park in the garage, and I had to park in the drive. And if she wanted to go somewhere, I had to move my car. If I wanted to get something out of the garage, I had to have her move her car. I can't drive her car. She would not allow it. So I respect that. I'm not going to mess with. I'll keep prodding her. Of course, now she lives out of state, but yeah, I don't get to touch the pink car. Kirby.
What?
I don't get to poke Kirby.
Kirby. Okay.
Kirby. Kirby the Camaro.
Kirby. Wow.
There's the title for this episode.
Got it. Taking a note right now. Kirby. I got it locked in. Oh, well, Steve, I thank you so much. And that story is really inspiring. It's so amazing to just see, like, wow, like it's leaving me without words, because that's something to share that experience, with with her, like for you as a dad and for her as a daughter, like that is so amazing. One thing I failed to mention earlier in the episode is that we also connected, like one of the connections that we have is that we both understand the absence of a father, like losing our dads. And that really is the why of why we are both here right now, because after making that connection, it was just it made perfect sense to come and share moments with you, because having not having your dad after losing him, it's it's a feeling that is unlike any other I've ever felt. And just to have the opportunity to still be and share in many moments that you may or may not have had with your father. Like, I know I never pulled up to the drive, the call
The
it
car lot.
any of the car. Yeah, I never was any of the car. I mean, my dad was alive during that time, but yeah, it was just these are moments that people don't realize is so much deeper than just the cashier's check. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the time spent driving to the banks, driving back home, driving through the snow. Like, there's so many intricate details that it just enhances that connection. And it just is something that she can take with her years from now and decades from now. And it's priceless. Like that, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We're talking about finances, but there's some things in life that are just absolutely priceless. And I appreciate you for sharing such a priceless story, along with the money aspect of it as well.
Well,
So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
yes. So on the next episode, we will be discussing the differences, I guess, between, what is it, empty nesting? What did you tell me, Steve?
Empty nesters and free birds.
Versus free, right. Empty nesters versus free. I never knew there was a difference until
I didn't either until somebody else told me just this last couple of months.
yeah. So hopefully we can take time to dive into the difference between, and just comparing and contrasting that experience and those life adjustments, because Lord knows it's a whole identity shift, at least from my perspective, because you spend all these years, and decades into taking care of a human being that, a mini you. And yeah, then one day you wake up and they're older. Like,
So stay
oh.
tuned, right? Stay
Yeah.
tuned. That's next.
Yes. All right, everybody. Once again, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button. Make sure you comment. And there's also a poll for all of the podcasters out there. We encourage you to take the poll and give us some feedback. Let us know what was your main takeaway from this episode. So until next time, we will see you later. Bye.